Hello and welcome on the Cruz Cast. I'm your host, Cruise Ship, and this is the podcast where I talk about any and everything that's on my mind for the week. I missed last week because I was busy, and I almost missed this week too because I wanted to do it mainly just on the weekends. But I realized that's not always going to be easy, so I might switch it from Friday and Saturday to just Monday, because Monday is calm and nothing's really going on a Monday. Everyone's kind of just starting the work week, getting in the groove for the rest of the week. So, what I wanted to talk about, a lot of the stuff that I wanted to talk about last week still kind of holds up for this week, so I'm gonna just keep it the same for the most part. I only have one thing I really added from last week to this week. But off to the main start. So before last weekend had ended, I finished all of Chainsaw Man. I thought it was a pretty funny anime, pretty good animated 3D, like when the fight scenes happen and 3D animation. It actually held up. I was actually quite surprised. It took me a minute to actually realize it was 3D animated. It took me a while. I did like it. Mappa does a good job. The story was pretty basic, but it's about just captivating with not just the story, but with the animation and the characters. And I think all the characters are fun and unique. And there's the serious character. The main character is kind of a goofball, but it works out. But what was brought up is a comparison to Jujutsu Kaisen or JJK, and I prefer JJK. I think JJK is better, and I think the story is slightly better. There's obviously some similarities. I don't remember what the genre is called, but they're in a world where demons or monsters exist, and then they combine with one to be a half breed type thing. It's the same kind of concept, but I do believe JJK does pull it off a bit better. And JJK also had a longer season, which gives it more time to develop your characters. And I think this is just a personal preference, as well as that 2D animation just looks better to me. Maybe over time 3D anime catches up, and all the little things that don't look as good end up looking fine, and they tune it up and make things look better and better as things progress over time. And so hopefully 3D anime progresses over time. But currently 2D still stands up, and JJK looks so fluid. All the fight scenes look so crisp and fun, and really holds up well. That's all I really got with Chainsaw Man. I do enjoy it. I will watch the rest when it comes out. Attack on Titan comes out here soon. Probably going to try and watch it in English, so I might have to wait an extra week from everyone else. Hopefully not, but that's how the norm goes. It's going to suck trying to avoid the spoilers from everyone on Twitter and everything, but we'll work with what we got. Next up is we got Yugioh. I like Yu-Gi-Oh! I played a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Matches too, especially when it first came out. It was, everyone could play with everyone, building your decks. The deck building was good. You can actually earn the cards that you want. You don't have to spend money. I did put money into it, but then I fell off. My main deck My first deck, I should say, though, was a Gem Knight deck that was all about killing the opponent first turn. Fun, but then I wanted something that could, if I wasn't gonna win in the first turn, that I have something to keep playing and counterplay and do this and that. So I wanted to work with the zombie deck. The zombie cards and zombie support cards just weren't all there, so I had to work with what I got. And what I got was all right. It wasn't the best, but it worked. But then one of the base staples in the deck that made the deck work got bans. On the counterpart to that, though, there's a structure deck that does put a lot of the cards that were needed into the game, and I have already gotten one of those structure decks. So I'm just trying to question myself, put it out there. Was it worth coming back to? Just because I like Yu-Gi-Oh! And my friend plays it all the time, so that's what's kind of going on. I do enjoy it. I don't want to get super deep into it. I don't want to play meta. I just want to be able to have a functioning deck that can play fairly decent, at least even against meta, but I don't want to get that high. Well, one game I've been trying to play when I can, it's just hard to find the time because I want to deep dive into the immersion of my playthrough, is God of War Ragnarok. It's been out for a while. It's the whole reason I got a PlayStation 5. It's like the main big game title that I got just to play. I'm trying to play it, but sometimes it's just like I don't feel like I can put in enough time. I don't think a 1 hour sit down with that game is enough, and it sucks. And there's multiple reasons that go into that. Because it's a, I guess, semi-open world game. Open world, I don't really know the tags. But the reason I'm so committed to it is because I played the God of War games and I played the last one. I had so much fun with the last one. I'm not saying I'm not having fun with Ragnorak. In fact, I'm having a lot of fun when I play it. But that's the thing. It's just finding the time to play it, because there's so much to do and I want to enjoy all the content that was provided, all of the open world. But the game's so long, that's why I don't think in just an hour, sometimes 2 hours doesn't feel enough. But then again, finding that time where I'm not pushing things aside just to play it, and not doing my responsibilities that I need to do just to play it. I don't want to do that. I feel like that's not what I want to do. That's pretty dumb. And I just don't have the time like I used to when I played the God of War 2018, basically God of War 4. I had all the time in the world back then because I was just work and turning down. Hold on. Completely just blanked for a second. That's when I had all the time in the world. It was just work and then come home and eat occasionally, hang out with friends occasionally, but it was just work and then come home. I had no other responsibilities really. I was still living with my moms. So now I have a girlfriend, I have cats, I have other things that I need to do. And so once I realized I started losing out on time as I kept getting older and older, and I realized, I don't have time for all these 800-hour games. There's so much to do, even though a lot of it is the same content, just, plastered everywhere, so we can expand the game, give you so much content, because everything needs 8,000 hours of content. I'm like, I can't do that anymore. I literally passed by games that everyone said is incredible because, if all that content is available, my brain wants to complete it all, which is a good and a bad thing, a blessing and a curse. Because I do enjoy those games usually for most of the time. It's just I don't have that time anymore, and I want to finish games and play games. So Ragnarok is one of the few exceptions because I've played the series and I need to finish it out. It's something that I want to finish because, again, the story for me has not concluded, and I need that conclusion. I need to commit, because a lot of these other open world games, it's like, if it's a whole new series, there's no point in me trying to start it, because then I'm going to want to finish it. And then the next games, and I'm going to want to play that. And it's another open world game. I don't want to keep playing open world games. Like, I've started Elden Ring. Great game, wonderful game. I love the Souls series, but Elden Ring is a big open world game. And so I have yet to finish it. I have yet to do all the things like I want to do. I have yet to even beat the main story. And honestly, at this point, I'm waiting to potentially just get a Steam Deck so I can play it in my room and I don't have to rely on being at home on my PC just to play Elden Ring, where I can just, you know what, I'm doing nothing, chilling somewhere, maybe at my mom's place, maybe at my sister's place, maybe just somewhere else. We're all just chilling. I'm pull out Steam Deck, start playing Elden Ring. Boom, get it done. You know, because again, I love single player games. You know, back in the day, PlayStation 2 it was single player games. It was those stories and dumb things that caught you captivated. And so there's plenty of good story games out there. Especially in the 360 era when it was kind of split between, it was highly multiplayer, but they were still developing high quality single player games. And so you got the best of both worlds, right? As the multiplayer online like era was blooming and really getting started with good actual good connections, you know, there was still a lot of high quality and love put into single player games. And I have a few recommendations for them, and some of these are a test to, like, you know, why I can't do open world games anymore, because these games are so great, but they also take a lot of time if you're trying to do everything to get the most out of your content. The first one I would want to recommend is the BioShock series. Those games are fairly linear, which is the best part about them to me at this point, because, you know, it's just playing the story mode. You can get all the upgrades if you want to take the time and search for everything, which is cool, but it doesn't feel like you're really missing out on too much if you don't get everything. You'd be like, oh man, didn't get everything, but you still got I feel like you got the full experience by playing the BioShock series, because BioShock 1 hits you so hard with its story. The story captivates you as you keep going, you're playing, and it just gets you. And then all of a sudden you just hit a certain point and the story truly then captivates you. BioShock 2, you're still captivated from the last series, and the settings of being in Fortuna City. I forget what it's called, but it's beautiful and glorious, but it also flips it on its head and makes it dark and creepy, and you have to go through this. It's all really well done. And then BioShock Infinite, again, all these games have wonderful stories, and it's a simple first person. I wouldn't say too simple, there's magic involved, but it's a good first person shooter story game. As a series, I think it's very much worth it to just, you know, if there's ever a chance to buy the BioShock series as a whole and just play them all through, I think it's worth it. Because that's something I did. I started with BioShock 1, I played it and I kept playing, and I couldn't stop because I was captivated. But it wasn't any multiplayer stuff. It was just the game itself and then the story. And then it made me want to play the next game, and the next game did the same thing, and but with better gameplay, and then try to recaptivate you with a different story, but not as good as the first. And Bioshock 2 did extremely well. Infinite lost me a couple times with the story here and there, but when you take a step back, maybe watch a video or two on take more of a deep dive, when you're just listening to something. But Bioshock Infinite does a really good job as well, and a fast and fluid gameplay. It works all really well. And then another game, just a singular game. There's another one that other people might prefer out of the series, but I would say Fallout 3. Again, another open world game of me trying to do every and anything that I could before completing the game. But Fallout 3's story was, in my opinion, maybe I need to go back to play it, but it was really well done. With the whole searching for your dad type thing, and just experiencing the outside world from the vault. I know first in the series where it's taken over by Bethesda, so it's first person open world with the Pit Boy, and then it's what got the Fallout 3 is what got a lot of love. Even though Fallout 1 and 2, then they were never bad. I never got the chance to play them because I was always playing on consoles, and so I didn't understand how I could go back to play 1 or 2. But what I got to experience was 3 at least, and 3 being that true RPG choice matters type stuff. You had the whole karma system and the whole introduction to VATS, the VAT system of slowing down time to target a limb. It was because I had played Oblivion prior to Fallout 3, and don't get me wrong, I like the medieval time style games. I love swords and dragons and magic and shit. That's always cool. But guns, the guns and the mutated monsters, it was a lot more appealing to me, and I really enjoyed that game a whole lot. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Fallout New Vegas. I just felt like I didn't care about the story whatsoever. It was more about this, I didn't really care about the main story that they were trying to push, more about the little side stories you got to do, especially with the companions. And then being in Vegas, that was like a big thing. The gameplay was more fluid than 3. You actually aim down the sights, which was something else. You didn't actually aim down the sights in Fallout 3, which I thought it was a little funky, but it still worked. They were still, cranking it out. And then Fallout 4, the stories, whatever. The gameplay is what really holds that game up. I had to force myself to just beat an ending for Fallout 4 to say that I've beaten it, because I was like, still hasn't technically been beaten for so long, and I got it when it first launched, and so I just had to sit down and say, all right, let's just go fucking beat a main story, one of the storylines, just so I can say I beat it, because I did still enjoy the game though. The next is Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. These games, again, open world games. I put way more time into 1 though, because this is when I was a lot younger and had a lot more time on my hands. So I was able to do a lot of the very unique and very unique with good storytelling side missions that did a lot of world building. I was able to do that. a lot more with 1, and it made me really enjoy the first game a whole lot. The first game was so well done, and it had a fun zombie DLC. That was cool. I enjoyed the hell out of that game with all, the cowboy setting, and like as time is coming from like cowboy setting to like more modern era, like it was introducing, more modern guns. It was a good branch on like, time setting and, how the times change, especially for outlaws like that. And 2 being Red Dead Redemption 2 being the prequel to that, it really set the tone and made you kind of understand 1 more, but it was like from a different perspective of another character. I couldn't put as much time as I wanted to in that one. Again, when 2 had finally come out, I was older and I had more responsibilities to do. I just more games to play than didn't take an hour just to do one thing. I can pick up something to play 15-30 minutes. All right, well, now I gotta go do something real quick, or a quick pick up and play game with my friends. Why fighting games work really well, because all right, I'm about to just play games with friends. All right, we're gonna play a set. Cool. So Red Dead 2, it took me a while to beat because I was focusing on other games. In fact, I was focusing on God of War 4 more so than Red Dead 2. And so I had put all the extra time, like, if I'm going to focus on one game, I'm going to focus on this game. And that's essentially just what happened because of the fact that God of War 4 had come out first. Simple as that. It just worked out that way. But when I finally got around to beating Red Dead 2, that game made me cry. The story made me cry and tear up. It was quite beautiful ending. The soundtrack of that game also helped that factor a lot. So it worked really well. I was glad that I can say I at least beat that game as well. It's again, if you have the time, it's weird giving a playthrough, but again, it's if you have the time, because these are especially Red Dead 2, it's a very massive game. And one more game that I had a lot of time back then to actually put the effort into was Far Cry 3. This game was so good. It was the first time I'd ever even heard of Far Cry, but they were putting a lot of marketing into this game, and so it caught me. The marketing caught me. I thought it was just, you're a dude on an island, and then you have to survive like pirates essentially. So, but I managed to grab a copy, or at least convince my mom to grab me a copy, and play it. Just start playing it. It was another first-person shooter, but it had unique RPG elements that I wasn't ready for. I guess I wasn't not ready for, but wasn't expecting, especially from a first-person shooter like that, because it was much faster paced than Fallout 3. So I guess my mind hadn't been accustomed to the fact that games could be similar genres but play completely different. Far Cry 3's first half of the story is so good to keep you captivated and keep you playing, just because of the main villain Voss alone. He's such a character, and the fact that he wasn't the true main villain is the only downside for me, really, because it's still a fun, fast-paced action first-person shooter. You get a lot of ways to be stealthy or go guns blazing. A lot of you get to hunt the animals to get the best upgrades. And again, I had the time, so I did all of this. I got all the achievements, and I remember one of the achievements is getting like a 300-meter bow kill, and I remember lining that shit up just so I can get it, because I wanted to do it for that game, because that game is really good and really enjoyable. But I know how long it took me to do all that stuff. I know how long all the camp settlements and missions take, and so I put off Far Cry Primal, I put off Far Cry 4 even, but I played Far Cry 5, and again, it took me forever to even beat that. I had to like tell myself, alright, I'm just gonna go play the main story missions just so I can say I can beat it again for that game too, like I did with Fallout 4, because I had already started. And it's not to say that I didn't enjoy the damn game, it's just due to the fact that the game was so big and too much to do at this point that I didn't have the time. But those are my recommendations. Like, if you have the time, if you want to put a lot of time into one game, these are games you could probably get now as remasters or something, all on the newer systems eventually, or even especially on Steam if you use that. So one of the main reasons that I might just switch everything to Monday is because things happen over the weekend that I don't get to talk about if I were to talk about things only on Friday and Saturday. Because today, again, February 20th, a Monday for me. I mean, Monday for everyone. Yesterday, Sunday, was Capcom Cup 9, which congratulations to Mena RD out of the Dominican Republic for winning it again. The only two-time Capcom Cup champion, which is very impressive. A lot of killers out there, and Mena manages it to do it twice. So he played obviously incredible. I don't think he went into losers bracket at all from winners. Didn't drop a set. So congratulations to Mena RD. What happened after Mena won is the COO, I believe, of Capcom came out and was like, all right, we got an announcement, which everyone was kind of confused about, because Street Fighter had tweeted out prior that they're not going to show any trailers for, Street Fighter 6 at all. It was just like, hey, don't expect anything. We don't have anything ready. All right, cool. I mean, they laid the groundwork prior to Capcom Cup happening. Cool. I mean, at least they warned us in advance so people don't get salty. But what they did announce was something I don't think anyone expected at all. And so Mena winning Capcom Cup 9, he got $120,000 payout, which is obviously incredible, more money than some people see ever. It's just the way it is. It takes people probably years to see that kind of money, and he just won that because he was the best that day, which was yesterday. But what they showed is, for Capcom Cup 10, the whole Pro Tour, after everything comes down to it, they said the main prize pool is gonna be over 2 mil, and first place gets 1 mil. And maybe for other esports, for like COD, League of Legends, all these other mainstream title games where they have their esports, to them maybe that's not that much, because they normally have that kind of payouts for people and the teams and whatnot. But this is such a huge deal for the like Street Fighter and maybe the whole fighting game community as a whole, because everyone in the FGC knows that the FGC payouts is like a bag of beans and a Wendy's 4 for 4, and like that's your payout. Like, oh damn, bro, you made 5th place at a Super Stack tournament. Here's a Coke. Like, that's your payout. So knowing that, and then knowing that Capcom Cup 10 and that Pro Tour, like, it's serious money involved, and maybe it makes the other fighting game companies step up, not only step up their games, but step up their prize pools to make people more enticed to, like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and grind this game because there's money to be involved, at least for the pro players. Because after that announcement of the big ass prize pool, all I just see is, like, all these pro players and commentators, like, all right, well, I guess I'm commentating for Street Fighter 6. I guess I'm pulling up to Street Fighter 6. Like, people who aren't interested in Street Fighter like that, or like, well, I guess I'm playing Street Fighter now, who's got the beta, the cracked beta, so I can start practicing now, because that is a big deal. $1 million, that is crazy. That's for first place. Like, Mena just won 120,000, and that's only 12% of what first place wins for Capcom Cup 10. Like, only 12%, and he won $120,000. Again, that's not a small bag. That's a pretty good payout. Like, if you handed me 120 G's right now, obviously I'm taking that shit, no questions asked, because that's a lot of fucking money. But the fact that, if he puts in the grind again next year and then wins next year, being a 3-time, the payout is huge. And it's crazy because even if he doesn't even place first, but he places top 8, he might get the same amount of money that he won for being first this year. But that's what this prize pool means. It means that, the competition is gonna want to play, because there is a true goal, at least like monetarily. So, you can actually make a living probably out of playing fighting games, because there isn't that much money involved. It's more about the love for fighting games, and only the best of the best can really make anything out of it, through sponsorships and anything like that. But again, you have to be a notable name to even get that far. So maybe this helps out, and maybe all the other fighting games put their money where their mouth is, and because money will make people enter the game to play, and maybe they find enjoyment, and it's not about the money, it's about the game, because of the love of the game, right? So this could be a good, extremely good play by Capcom, saying like, hey, you know what, let's make this prize pool big as shit, bigger than any fighting game tournament has ever seen. And so what does it do? It brings in more players, brings in the pro players, the top level competitors from other genre, or not other, I guess other genres, but from other fighting games to Street Fighter. And now you have more people watching their favorite player play Street Fighter 6, makes them want to get Street Fighter 6. Now you have a bigger player base, and your player base keeps growing because more top players are playing Street Fighter 6. It could be a whole long play, especially if the other companies aren't going to match it. Because that's a big deal, as a lot of tournaments are giving out bags of beans for like their top tournaments, you know. So it could be a long-term play that, if it works out, they might be able to maintain due to the amount of money they might get from getting a bunch of new players, from seeing their top players switch over, because these top players want a piece of that big old pie. And I completely understand it too, because dude, you know, the imagination of being first and winning a mill is a lot better than 120. Again, nothing wrong with 120. Congratulations to Mena, proved he was the best. But being the best for 1 mil over 120, you know, there's more weight, at least monetarily. You can always say he's all, you know, he's the only 2-time. He'll have that, and I believe he'll have that for a while, because there's killers for Street Fighter. And so I was already excited for Street Fighter 6 way before this announcement, but this is like, you know, it kind of sparks my imagination. Like, you know, what if I get good enough to be able to even be part of the Capcom Cup, even place top 16 and come home with 20 G's? Like, you know, that's crazy to think about, and it's something that makes me very happy. So hopefully through this, that the life of Street Fighter 6 will be able to live on much stronger, especially much stronger than Street Fighter 5, because Street Fighter 5 at launch was not good, and so people dropped it fairly fast, and people still hold grudges to that game to this day from launch. So hopefully the community gets bigger and we all share a passion for Street Fighter 6. Some people's passion might be just to grind to try and be part of that 2 mil prize pool, which again, you can't blame them, because that's a lot of money. Let's just hope that it brings in more of a community that find their love for the game and fighting games as a whole. So, all right. This is a bit of a short one, because we're talking about things I've been wanting to talk about for over a week. Might try and do this every Monday more often. More time, because no one's doing anything. No one wants to hang out. Everyone's working. It just depends on the week, I suppose. Thank you for being on the Cruz Cast, and I'll catch you next time.